Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, wherever you're joining from. I'm in Chicago and my time is central. So, how is everybody doing today? I trust you all doing well. Anyway, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome to Transformation Experience with DrDTO. So, we meet here every Saturday. Okay. And I want to ask you a question. Before you walk into the room, are you ready for healing? Are you ready for healing? Let me ask you that question. Are you ready for healing? Are you ready for healing? You know, that healing you keep postponing. Are you ready for it? Are you ready? It's a question. So you can answer me in the chat. Let me know if you are ready for the healing. That healing you've been postponing. Are you ready? Have you ever noticed that when you're preparing for something important, you make room for it? Weddings, even if you're expecting guests, you clean the house. For those who don't clean their house all the time, if somebody is coming special, you clean your house. I clean my house all the time. I don't have to do that. But a lot of people don't do that. So until there's a guest coming, they don't clean, but they prepare when there is someone coming into their home. Some, if you are preparing for exam, you study. Some don't study until the exam comes. When we were in college, I don't even know what we were doing, my friends and I, but when the exam comes, you see everybody carrying their pillowcases, going to the library or to read in classrooms. I never do that. I don't know how to read in classrooms except when I had one exams like that. And I had to go to like a medical school, and it was an ICANN exam. They call it ICANN exam. That's. So I would stay there from like morning till later in the night, like 10 p.m. So are you ready? Are you preparing for that exam? When you do, you study. If you are preparing for surgery, God forbid, there are things your doctor asks you to do beforehand. Even if you are like, if I have my medical appointment, just the what do they call it now? The regular ones. I don't have to. You have to fast. So if you go there and you eat before you go, what happened? You have to postpone. So preparation matters in life. That's just the truth. Preparation matters in whatever we do. And yet, when it comes to healing, many people assume they can simply show up and everything will magically change. That is what we think. I don't believe healing works that way. Healing, long before the breakup moment, healing begins with readiness. Healing begins with readiness. Healing begins with readiness. And as for those of us who will be joining us tomorrow for the healing intensive, and I can't do my fan. That's the problem. When there is cold, we complain. When there is heat, we complain. Excuse me, 1 minute. 8 seconds, not minutes. Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to, if the AC or the fan is on, it will be making noise into the So okay, so this is the sacrifice for me right now. Okay, so as we prepare for the Healing Within Transformation Intensive, I've been thinking about some of the conversations I've had with people over the years, not necessarily coaching clients, Sometimes friends, sometimes, workshop participants, sometimes people who send messages after teaching, or people who comment online on social media, Instagram, into my DM, all those kind of people. And the conversation often sounds something like this: DrDTO, Dr. Damola, coach, I thought it was, like, I thought I was over it. Really? What makes you think you are not? So that's the question. What makes you think you are not? What makes you think you are not? So even before we continue, let me introduce myself. For those who may probably joining me for the first time, I am Dr. Oyindamola Okenla, board certified master mental health coach. I'm a transformation catalyst. I'm also a coach, life coach. If you what that means, life coach. I'm a writer. I'm an author of many books. I've written books on emotional healing, pattern breaker, all those kind of stuff, relationships. Those are my specialty: relationships and all the rest of them. I train. I'm also an intercessor by God's grace. I'm a child of God. So you'll find out that most of my works, I actually incorporate faith and psychology into my practice. So what do? I help people gain clarity, healings, to fulfill purpose and become everything God has ordained them to become. So that's what I do. So I help you to move from confusion to clarity, to fulfill purpose. So sometimes I have discussion with people, friends, and all the rest. But let me say, what makes you think you are not ready? What makes you think you are not ready? Let me, what makes you think you are not ready? So, sometimes I ask, what makes you think you are not? Because every time something happens, I react the same way. Someone said that anytime something happens, I react the same way. Or someone says, I don't understand why I don't trust people. Have you been there? That, you feel like that because people have offended you, people have betrayed you, people have disappointed you over the times, and you don't trust people anymore. Or someone says, I don't understand why I don't trust people. Or then after taking a while, we discover trust was broken years ago. Or someone says, I don't know why I keep overthinking. Why do I keep overthinking? Then we also discover that they have been disappointed so many times that their mind is constantly trying to protect them from future pain. What I've learned, okay, is that many people are not struggling because they are weak. Okay, they are struggling because there are wounds that never received proper attention. There are wounds that never received proper attention. So it's not because um, um, they are weak, no, but because they are unattended wounds that have not received proper attention, that have been kept, and they have moved on because people have told them move on, and they have moved on, and they were not properly healed. And when wounds are ignored, what happens? They don't disappear. So when they are ignored, they don't disappear. Okay, so they simply go on the ground. So they are still there. They are living there. Sometimes they show up, as anxiety. Sometimes they show up as anger, because you just notice that you're just angry unnecessarily. If you look down, you'll think, why did I even get angry? but because there is unhealed wound somewhere there, buried. Sometimes they show up as people pleasing. We want to please people. We want to gain acceptance. And sometimes they show up as perfectionism. We're just being perfect, trying to be good to everybody and to be good, trying to some facade of pretenses. Because that is what I can talk there. Sometimes they show up as emotional distance. Like, I think one of the what is it called? In Catalyst call sometime last week, I was talking about, someone asked a question and I answered it like, why do I keep people at arm's length? Like, why is it like I don't want to stay with people? Like, sometimes we erect walls. And I was thinking, yeah, I remember that I was thinking sometimes during the week, like, I don't know how I got there, but I thought of walls. Walls are meant to protect, right? Walls are meant to protect us, but they are supposed to be protective, but they can also become barriers. And then I remember Joshua says that the Bible says the wall of Jericho was erected against the children of Israel, and none could go out and none could come in. So that means if I erect walls, probably because people have wounded me, I have unresolved wounds, and now I'm not allowing something good to come near me or to come into me, and I'm not moving towards something good because I've erected walls. Sometimes boundaries can become barriers. I was just thinking about it. I don't even know how that thought came, but boundaries can also become barriers if care is not taken, because there are wounds that have not been attended to. Sometimes they show up as exhaustion. You're just tired. You sleep, but you're still tired. And the wound changes clothes, but it's still there. So it comes in different dimensions, in different ways, at different times. Unexpected. So that is why today I want to talk about being ready. I want to talk about being ready. Are you ready? So sometimes, like I said, most people would think readiness feels like you have the confidence, the certainty, the courage, the clarity. But what if readiness looks different? What does that mean? It may sound like, oh, I can't keep carrying this. I can't keep pretending. I can't keep repeating the cycle. I can't keep postponing myself. So that is the reality. So today, I want to talk about ready. Not ready for workshop, not ready for another notebook, not ready for another Zoom section, not ready but ready for healing. So I want to talk about ready for healing, because tomorrow is not just another event on the calendar. Tomorrow is an opportunity. And the opportunities only changes when we are prepared to receive them. And as I prepare for this conversation today, one word kept coming to my mind, and I want to use the word ready. Like I said, not ready for an event, not ready for a workshop, but ready for healing. And as I reflect on the word ready, which is ready, are you ready? READY, ready. So as as we prepared for the workshop or intensive, don't call it workshop, as we're getting ready for the intensive tomorrow, I'm asking you, are you ready for healing? And as reflected on that word, I realized that each letter speaks to be part of the journey. Many of us must take, before transformation can happen. Transformation, healing is a journey. So right now, I want us to talk about ready. Okay, are you ready? Let me talk about it. So what is ready? What is ready? So what is ready? The R in the ready is what? Release. Release the need to pretend. Enough of pretenses. Can I be honest? One of the most exhausting jobs in the world is pretending. Pretending you are fine, pretending it doesn't bother you. It's a lie. It bothers you. Pretending you have moved on. La la. Pretending you are not tired. Pretending you are not tired. Pretending you have moved on. Pretending it does not affect you. Pretending, you are not hot. We do that. Pretending you are not angry. Pretending, you are not disappointed. I remember speaking with a woman who told me, I'm okay. I said, are you really okay? She smiled, I'm fine. Then 5 minutes later, she was crying. What happened? The mask got tired. Are you masked? Sometimes we send so much energy, appearing healed that we never actually heal. Readiness begins when we stop performing and start telling ourselves the truth. Not anybody or everybody else, ourselves, yourself, myself. Because healing cannot enter a place where honesty has not been invited. No, we have to be honest. So what is the next one? Let's move on. So the next one in the ready is E. So what does that mean? It means you examine what is still affecting you. What still triggers you? What still hurts? What still influences your decisions? One of the questions I ask people is this: what is this costing you? Not what happened. What is this costing you now? A betrayal that happened 10 years ago. What is it costing you today? A rejection that happened 7 years ago. What is it costing you today? A painful divorce, a failed business, a broken friendship, a difficult childhood. What is it costing you today? What is it costing you today? What is it costing you today? Because sometimes we become so focused on the event that we never examine the impact. I had a conversation with someone who said, I don't think that situation affects me anymore. I asked, then why do you automatically assume people will disappoint you? And then there was silence. There was silence. Sometimes the impact tells the truth before we do. And healing begins when we become curious enough to examine what is still influencing our lives. So what is the A in ready? What is the A in ready? So A in ready is accept where you are. Not where you wished you were, not where others think you are, where you are actually. Now, this is the part most people resist. Acceptance. Because acceptance feels uncomfortable. We would rather compare, we would rather justify, we would rather minimize the pain. You rather minimize the pain. We would rather distance ourselves and distract ourselves with other things. I was just talking on the podcast and I said sometimes people do other stuff to bury the pain. Do other stuff to bury the pain. We divert attention to something else to cover the pain. I was talking about how people will see you, they think you are strong, but they don't know that you are not strong. You are posting online, you are doing things online, but a lot of people, they're online. That's why you see all those people that are funny online. Maybe they are depressed and they are trying to cover up their depression or to divert attention. I don't know. You know? But acceptance simply says, this is where I am. This is where I am, not where I wish I was. This is where I am. You know, not where I pretend to be, not where everybody thinks I am. This is where I am. I know me. I cannot pretend. And you can pretend to everybody, but you cannot pretend to God anyway. And there is freedom in that, knowing where you are, not where you think you ought to be, not where everybody expected you to be. I often tell people, you cannot start a journey from a location you refuse to acknowledge. Imagine putting an address on your GPS or into your GPS while refusing to tell the GPS where you currently are. Even if you don't say it, if it will automatically mark you and say this place, even if you want to change it, it will be pointing to that place, you know. So you can't tell a GPS nowhere. There must be a starting point, even for healing. That makes no sense if there is no location, no starting location. That means no sense. So yet people do it emotionally all the time. Healing starts with honesty. I think in one of the series that we did this month, we talk about honor. And we said honesty in the honor. Honor you where you are. I said not cherish, but honor. That means acknowledge. So we are talking about ready, right? So we are in D. So what is the D in your healing? So what is the D? What is the D? Excuse me, 1 minute. Sorry for all these minutes. I have to do something in 2 minutes. So what is the D? What is the D? So D is decide what you want different. Nobody can want it for you. You have to want it for yourself. You have to desire it for yourself. What do you desire? What do you desire? Sorry, I'm distracted and I'm on D. I need to do something quickly. Okay, so decide what you want different. Tomorrow is not just about identifying wounds. I'm talking about the intensive. It's not just about identifying wounds. Tomorrow is about deciding what you want different. You're coming into that room and you're listening to me. Maybe it's the replay. It's about deciding what you want different. Because if you don't know where you're going, you cannot get there. Even when you're starting, now you know your location, right? You fill it into the GPS. There must be an arrival. There must be a destination. If you don't have destination, you cannot arrive there, or else probably you'll get yourself into the cemetery. So tomorrow is about deciding what you want different, or now decide what you want different, even as I'm talking right now, okay? Because awareness without action changes nothing. I want you to pause and think about it, okay? Quickly, pause and think about it. So where do you want to be? Okay. Where do you want to be? Sorry, I'm trying to. Where do you want to be? Hmm? And how long have you known some of the things that you struggle with? How long have you known some of the things that you struggle with? How long have you known some of the things you struggle with? How long? How long have you known? Months? Years? Maybe decades? Because let me tell you, knowledge is important. Knowledge is important. Okay? Knowledge is important. But transformation requires decision. A decision to stop settling. So you can't be settling. You can't be postponing. A decision to stop repeating the same cycle. A decision to stop carrying unnecessary emotional weight. A decision to invest in your own healing. Invest in your healing. A decision to invest in your healing. Everything in life is intentional. We have to be intentional. You have to invest in your growth, invest in your transformation, invest in your healing. Nothing just happened. Sometimes people will ask me, Dr. D, when will things change? When will things change? And my answer is often, things begin to change when you decide they must. So decide. So let's move on. Let's move to why. So what is your why? What is your why? What is your why? So what is your why? Let's talk about your why. So your why is to yield to the process, because there is a process. Your why is to yield to the process. And finally, yield. Okay? Because healing is a process. Healing is a process. I want somebody to write that. Healing is a process. So tomorrow is, for instance, it's not a magic wand. Tomorrow is not about me fixing anyone. Transformation intensive is not about me fixing anyone. It's not about instant perfection. Okay? It's not about instant perfection. It is about beginning. It is what? About beginning. Creating space, having understanding, having awareness. It is about tools. Okay. It's about practical steps. It's about moving from survivor towards restoration. One of the biggest mistakes, okay, people make is expecting healing to happen all at once. And there is no, like one size fits all when it comes to healing. Some people healing could be 2 years, some people it could be, when we're doing divorce recovery, one of the questions that people will be asking is, how long will it take? There's no fixed time. So you have to trust the process. Everybody will evolve at different times. And somebody, even for those of us who says we are ill, sometimes, okay, it's a cycle until you get over it. It's a cycle. Some days, you go back to the beginning, the anger can come, but when you are deeply healed, even if it's surface, you let it go quickly. It won't get you to depression. It won't get you sick. So it's about moving, okay, from survivors to restoration. The truth is this: most meaningful transformation happen one decision at a time, one insight at a time, one decision at a time, one insight at a time, one breakthrough at a time, one conversation at a time, one step at a time. And that is okay, because progress is still progress. What do I say? Progress is still progress. Progress is still progress. So yield to the process. So before we go today, I've really exceeded my time, but it's okay. It's okay. It happens, right? So I want you to reflect on these questions. And I want to ask yourself, okay? I want to ask yourself, what am I tired of carrying? Ask yourself, what am I tired of carrying? Ask yourself, what pattern am I tired of repeating? You know it, I don't know it. Thank God we have the workbook. So you can get the workbook if you have paid for your intensive. Get the workbook. The workbook is part of it. And then we have devotionals. We have the guide that you can work. I love that guide. You know, because you can use that guide as a coaching tool for yourself. You know, do it for yourself. What wound am I tired of managing? What will become possible if I finally give myself permission to heal? What will become possible? And perhaps the most important question of all, am I ready? Am I ready? Am I ready? Because tomorrow is not about showing up perfect. It's not about showing up with all the answers. It's not about proving anything to anyone. There's nobody to prove anything to anyway. It's about showing up willing. It's about showing up what? Willing. And sometimes willingness is the doorway to transformation. Willingness sometimes is a doorway to transformation that you are questing. Tomorrow we gather for the healing from within transformation intensive. If you have been sitting on the fence, okay, wondering whether to join, let me encourage you. It's still, you have 24 hours. If something in today's conversation resonated with you, if you find yourself saying, it sounds like me, or I've been carrying that for years, then perhaps this is your opportunity to take a different step. The registration link is in the comment section, or check the bio. You can see, simply click review the details and reserve your place. There's still room for you. I'm still asking you, are you ready? Okay, tomorrow is not about being perfect. Tomorrow is not about having, it's not about having everything figured out. Tomorrow is about creating space, healing, reflection, growth, and restoration. My hope is that you will not spend another year carrying something that healing can address. Before I close, let me address some questions here. Okay. Dr. DTO, is this therapy? No, it's not therapy. This is a transformational coaching and emotional wellness intensive. While we still discuss emotional healing and personal growth, this is not a therapy section or a substitute for professional mental health treatments. The goal is to provide practical tools, reflection, insight, and pathway toward healing and restoration. Another question says, what if I don't like sharing personal information in a group? That's perfect and perfectly okay. You will never be forced to share anything you are not comfortable sharing. Many participants learn and grow simply by listening, reflecting, and engaging with the exercises at their own pace. Sometimes people share, sometimes people share. What if my wounds are from years ago? Yes, okay. In many cases, that is exactly why healing conversations are needed. Times may create distance from an event, but it does not always heal the impact. Whether the experience happened last month or 20 years ago, healing is still possible. Okay. Another question says, what if I'm not sure I need healing? What if I'm not sure I need healing? What if I'm not sure I need healing? Let me answer that this way. You find yourself repeatedly struggling with trust, fear, self doubt, emotional triggers, people pleasing, unhealthy relationship patterns, or difficulty moving forward. This conversation may be beneficial for you. Healing intensive may be okay for you. It's perfectly recommended for you. Let me say that. And somebody says, will there be practical tools or is this just motivation? No, this is not motivation at all. I'm not a motivational speaker. This will be practical tools. My goal is simply to inspire you, or it's not to inspire you. My goal is not to inspire you. Okay, it's not to inspire you for a few hours. My goal is to provide insight, exercises, reflection tools, and strategies that you can continue applying along the um, even after, long after the intensive is over. What other question? Somebody says, can I attend if I'm currently doing well? Absolutely. Healing is not only for the people or for people in crisis. Many people attend because they want to grow, strengthen their emotional wellness, improve relationships, increase self awareness, and prevent old wounds from shaping future decisions. What should I bring? What should I bring? Bring yourself. Bring a notebook. Bring yourself. Bring a notebook. Bring a willingness to learn, and bring your work notes. You have your workbook. Download the workbook. Bring it, and bring an open mind, and most importantly, bring honesty. Bring healing. You know, bring honesty. Okay, because healing begins where honesty lives. Okay, somebody said, "Can I still register?" Yeah, as of this morning, as you listen to this, registration is still open and there is still room available. The registration link is in the comment section or in the bio, depending on where you listen to this. Simply click the link and reserve your place. I would love to see you inside the Healing from Within Transformation Intensive tomorrow. And if you miss tomorrow, you can always have the replay. Okay, if you miss it, it's June 14th, 2 p.m. Central Time. If you miss it by any chance, you can always order for the replay. And there are other tools that we have. We have resources. We have the guide. I think it's about 170 pages guide. Then we have the workbook, we have the devotional. Yeah, so we have like 4 resources, or one-on-one coaching. You want to talk to me one-on-one, also is available. So there are so many things that are available. So, like I told you earlier on, I'm an intercessor, I'm a child of God, I'm a prayer person. So I always end things with prayer. Peradventure, you believe in prayer, let me pray for you. I'll take a moment to pray. Father Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for this session. We thank you for everybody under the sound of my voice. Thank you for everyone that will listen at any point in time. You know, the things they carry, the questions they have, the areas of their lives that need your wisdom, your healing, your direction. You know, I pray for courage for each and every one of us to be honest, Lord. Courage to pay attention to what needs attention. For anybody, you remember one man in the Bible was called blind Bartimaeus. Blind Bartimaeus. Jesus knew this man didn't have sight, but he asked him. So be honest. And he said, I restore my sight. So sometimes even God knows, he is Jehovah that knows all things. He's the omniscient God. But still want us to say it, to verbalize it. So tonight, Father, we say, Lord, help us to be honest, Lord. Let there be courage to pay attention to what needs attention. Courage to stop postponing the conversations, decisions, and healing that are necessary for growth. May clarity replace confusion. May peace replace anxiety. May hope replace discouragement. And may each person take the next step that leads them closer to wholeness, healing, and transformation. In the mighty name of Jesus. In the mighty name of Jesus. Okay, before we go, I want to say this. Readiness is not perfection. Readiness is willingness. Okay, so once again, I invite you into the inner room. Come for healing today. Transformation intensive. Okay, and thank you for coming. Thank you. See you next week, Saturday. We always do this every Saturday. Okay, thank you. So see you next week, Saturday. Thank you.